artists behind the epic melodies, songs, and beats. Celebrating the best new music from around the world. This is the A State of Trance podcast.
Hey, what's up? My name is Ruben Onde and welcome to a new A State of Trance podcast. In the studio today we have two gentlemen from the UK. How are you doing, Dave and Alan?
All good. How are you?
You're here for the Silva City project, a new project that you started, I would say started releasing last year, but also I'm not sure when you started out making music. Like, we'll get to that later. But first of all, we all know you as Reset Robot and Alan Fitzpatrick. So we're going to start with all of that, of course. I'll start with you, Dave.
Yep.
The question of questions is, where and how did you fall in love with dance music? What is your history that brought you where you are right now?
Going back to probably sort of 13, 14 years old, started kind
Baby.
of... Yeah. I guess sort of hearing stuff on Radio 1.
Yeah.
And being into... I think a pal of ours, his dad had a bunch of CDs like The Annual by Pete Tong and Boy George and those kind of mixes on Ministry of Sound, and we used to listen to those and kind of got into speed garage and stuff like that. And then we started wanting to go out to some clubs later on, maybe when we were a little bit too young, but we still managed to get in. But
somehow,
yeah, then we somehow, I don't know how we got in.
Different times.
Yeah,
I see photos of us and I'm like, how?
How did you come in?
How did we get
You look
in?
12.
Yeah. I'm sure like the bouncers were like, go on. You've tried hard. Come on, you can have a go. Anyway, yeah. And then when we started to going to the sort of club that we first started going to, Slinky at the Opera House, that is where we really kind of started getting into trance and that kind of sound and stuff. So, and then it just, I think some of us really fell in love with it so much that, you know, we wanted to dive in more, start DJing, then getting into production and stuff like that. And then it all kind of like snowballed.
Do you still remember which tune it was that made you fall in love with dance music? Did you go back and listen to these CDs and you're like, or listen to Pete Tong or Radio 1, you're like, holy, what is this?
I mean, I think, we've all probably got some like really key favourite tunes that we remember from that time. We were discussing some yesterday, and one that came up was Ron Hagen and Pascal M. Forever.
Oh, yeah. It was on Infusion.
Yeah.
I remember the white and blue label.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
that
the
is
vinyl.
such a memorable track.
That was the guys behind Signal.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were doing some different bits and pieces before that. And maybe they signed away the name somewhere. And then
that's what we said. Maybe the reason that one came out like that was because there must have been some license.
Must have been something like that. We have to ask him. We have to get him in the studio because he's doing, well, everybody's kind of doing that sound. So we have to get him on board as well. Same for you, Alan. So what was the moment that you were like, okay, this is it?
Yeah, I think similar to Dave, because obviously we were in the same sort of friends group and going to the same events and stuff. But I was always listening to like tape packs and stuff at school on my sort of cassette tape with my like one ear in when I was supposed to be like learning some maths or algebra or something. And when we first started getting to go into clubs, probably at around about 15.
That was Slinky as well?
Slinky as well, yeah.
Both like at the same time.
Yeah. I think me and Dave, we were in different schools. We had the same friends group. And we met in Slinky in the club.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
At like the backstage area, about 15 years old. My cousin was in the same school as Dave and the other guys, and that's our friends group now. But one of my earliest memories of going to Slinky was walking in and hearing CRW.
Oh,
yeah. Love.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
Oh.
And then for ages going into record shops and just like humming that melody and trying to find what it was. And
that was different because now you sometimes you see people, you actually see it from your DJ booth. You see people with a Shazam logo in the air. Like, what is this? I'm like,
I think the crazy thing now as well is you can, because Shazam is sort of linked to some of the streaming stuff, you can see how much of your stuff's been Shazam.
Yeah,
which is mad because back in the day, obviously, you could take months to find something.
I remember going to record shops and then new vinyls would come in, and then the guy behind the counter, you did the same, right? You stood behind the counter and you played some music out because the vinyls came in. You're like, wait a minute, this is the one that Chesto played a year ago.
I need it.
I need to have it. And then people were like, hey, we have to get this,
It was awesome.
Yeah, well, different times.
Yeah.
good times and bad times. Definitely. So you already said, so that's your clubbing area, I guess. Then Slinking, you started going out together also.
Yeah.
What was the moment that you were like, okay, I need to take this to the next level, or something is intriguing me that I want to start creating music or start DJing first?
Yeah.
I think that definitely, there was a point where I kind of knew that I wanted to get into production, but I didn't necessarily know how. And then I started college and I was doing some really like boring A levels, like English and sociology and stuff like that. And I just said to my parents, I was like, look, I'm not into this at all. I love my music. I really want to learn how to do production. And I'd been over to the music block at the college and they had like a proper studio and stuff like that. And I said, look, there's a course that I can do. I can swap. And they were just like,
There's no career in music.
No, they were very supportive.
Oh, they were? Okay, that's amazing.
They were incredibly supportive, which was, huge for me. And they just said, just go for it. So I switched. And then one of the guys there had a cracked copy of Reason 1.
Yeah.
And he gave me that. And I got that home and that was it. I was just like up till like 5 a.m, kind of producing tracks, awful tracks.
Searching for the perfect kick drum.
Yeah, but that's where it all kind of like kicked off.
I remember I started the same with Reason. Well, before Reason, I did techno EJ.
Yeah.
A lot of people did that actually when you heard it in interviews.
I remember dance EJ as well.
EJ,
yeah. So it was just building blocks. But Reason was I remember opening for Reason for the first time was like, what the hell is this? Turn it around and you have to do the wires and
you still have to do that now. Crazy.
You still have to do that now.
Yeah. There's no quick button click. You still, if you want to kind of side chain and stuff like that, you're still rewiring everything.
Really?
Yeah. Can we just say if there's anyone
propeller heads listening
from Reason Studios watching, you have to make some changes.
Do you still use Reason?
Yeah, both of us. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. That's all we ever use. Yeah.
All of this stuff is done in Reason.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't. I thought, especially we'll get to that later. But it sounds like proper hardware.
I mean, we've got a lot of hardware, and we've obviously VSTs and everything as well. But the engine and the basis of everything is
crazy.
Reason.
Because I remember Reason 1, it had a typical thin Reason sound. And I remember some people like W&W, they managed to find their way around it and make it sound proper. But you didn't have any VSTs or anything. It was all the Malmström, Subtractor, and XT and 19. Redrums. Yeah.
It's actually only been in the last, to me, because we use it all the time, it feels like it's only been the last few years that it's supported VST.
Yeah.
So for a long time, you were just in the box in Reason, or...
For me, that was the reason to switch to Ableton, just to start using VSTs.
Now it's very open. The audio sort of capabilities are great. The stretching and the, editing of audio is really good, and the pitching of vocals and stuff you can do perfectly. And, you can integrate hardware really easily now and stuff in there, but it's still got its limitations. It's still got its limitations.
I remember when you imported a loop, you had to play it in the sampler, and then every time you wanted to have the loop play again, you had to start all over again, and it would be like a oh my god, it was terrible.
So annoying. You had to draw in a sample that was like 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then you had to just go. Oh my god,
it was terrible.
This was all pre the system supporting audio. You couldn't even drag and drop audio. Everything was kind of via the sampler.
Yeah.
So it was like a digital version of the old like Akai 3000.
Do you remember that if you put in like a drum pattern, they were just like these tiny red lines on the sequencer. There was no block, so it was all just these tiny little red lines going along.
Yeah,
that was
crazy.
I don't know how you guys did that then. That's crazy. Well, we have to go back because we're drifting away. Anna, for you, the moment that you were like, okay, I have to start making music, because Dave, you started making music in school. What was your path?
So for me, it was more the DJ stuff first. I think when we were going to Slinky and experiencing clubs and other clubs at that time, that whole period, all of our friends were DJing. All of us had a set of decks, whether it be terrible belt drive decks or, we all had some way of playing music. So our social kind of hangout was playing tunes. And obviously from being in clubs, that's when I knew I want to be up there and I want to be playing the music.
Yeah.
But the production stuff came for me in sort of college. I had about 1,000 jobs when I was younger. I tried so many different things. Went to college for, again, boring stuff.
Yeah.
Business, NVQs and retaking maths and English and stuff like that, because I didn't really do much, a lot of that at school. I only really passed art and French and music. So I actually enrolled in the same course that Dave was on. And that's
so you were already doing this.
I was doing it. Yeah. Alan came in.
He basically said, come and do this course. Because, obviously, why not? So that's when our very first tracks that we ever made together were in the studio in that college.
Yeah.
And we've been making stuff together ever since.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So you drifted apart a little bit. You started making music already. You didn't know what to do. And then you came together again and started making music.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you get to a certain level that you were able to release something? Because, like I said, it was kind of different times. Which year are we talking about?
So the first ever record that we would have put out would have been 2002, probably.
Yeah.
About 19 I was. You would have been maybe 18, 19. Was called Feel the Friction, which is like more of a hard house thing. Because at that time, the whole trance and hard house stuff in the UK was all pretty much linked together, especially with lineups at Slinky, it was all quite mixed. You could see all sorts of people, and that was around the time we were making music. Before that, I think that was the first sort of official release. Was probably 2002. Yeah, around that time. Yeah.
Do you still listen to that sometimes, or you're like, okay, I can't listen to this anymore?
It's not too bad, actually.
It isn't too bad.
It's quite good.
Yeah,
it is quite good. I mean,
we made it in my bedroom.
In Reason.
When I lived with my parents, and they were bringing us tea and biscuits, and it's like, that sounds good, But we both have really supportive parents in terms of like. Yeah. When I told my parents I wanted to do music and I wanted to pursue it, they were just like, they've never come up and tell me to turn something down or don't start this late doing this and that, and they just allowed us to be kind of free.
That must
with
have been terrible for them. Must have been terrible for them that they sit downstairs. They want to watch.
Like they used to really enjoy it and get buzz out of it.
Yeah, my mum used to come up and be like, "I like this one."
Really?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah,
your neighbours not.
My parents are extremely musical anyway. They used to go to Northern Soul raves and so they were pretty. And Dave's parents are obviously very laid back and into music and hippies.
Yeah.
So we're quite blessed in that sense, really.
Do you remember that track? Did we do one called Accelerate?
Accelerate, yeah.
And I think I burnt it to a CD and I played it to my mum and dad on our good hi-fi system.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow, this is like not what they're into, but they were like,
they understand that it was good.
It sounded really good, and it was like, when we did that, we were like, we've sort of jumped up a level here.
Yeah, I think that's one of those tracks that we were integrating kind of layers of stuff that worked together, and we were like, we can do this. This sounds good,
Yeah.
First few tracks are obviously trial and error. You don't really know. And again, the difficulty with back then is you didn't really have a lot of feedback of someone to tell you that's not good or that is good.
No, you would burn it on a CD, you would send it to an A&R.
Yeah.
And then you had to
Whereas
wait,
now you could stick it on SoundCloud and within 10 minutes you've got comments saying, or this or that,
Yeah.
Back then it was very much like, I don't know if we're doing this right, and I don't know, but let's have a go,
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to take my stuff and our stuff on a tape or a CD into the local record shop, and Matt would play it over the speakers, and he was like, yes, getting there. But I used to go in again and again and again, and then he'd be like, right, it's getting really good now.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
It
also depends.
In a record shop,
also depends.
cool.
Yeah, I found that also when I was doing later research.
Yeah.
Working in a record shop, and especially in that time, you were like such an influential person because all the DJs would gather around and come into the shop, and you would meet everyone.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was exciting because we started making music in the studio above the record shop. So we didn't get a huge amount done because every 5 minutes, whoever's buying records in the shop would just come up and stand and listen to what we're making. And it was a bit like,
no pressure.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was just a big community. It was a really good community of people that were just, enthusiastic about music and
So you started out those days. You started out releasing music. You would start getting more shows. Did you play Slinky? I guess at a certain point, there must have been never.
That we'd kind of our kind of the time that we were into trance and that kind of sound, I think was, if you look back, it was actually quite short.
Like I think from 1998 to about 2001.
You found your sound really quickly. You go to techno,
and then we
more
sort of kind of moved away from it a little bit. I think by sort of end of 2001, 2002, we were sort of moving on to other sounds.
Yeah, Dave was making more kind of progressive, and then going into sort of early days of tech house, which is a very different sound to now.
More like London tech house.
Like the kind of Terry Francis Wiggle Fabric kind of sound. And I had moved more into the harder stuff. So I'd come from the trance sound, bleeding into the hard house sound, and then into the sort of London acid techno, Chris Liberator, Stay Up Forever, Dave the Drummer, Hydraulics, that sort of sound. And then from that into the sort of Adam Beyer drum code kind of sound, really.
You went faster, you went slower. That's still like that, I guess.
Yeah.
So how's the journey been from that moment to, let's say, because I saw that you also in 2009, you were also coming together again to work on music. In the meantime, you were focusing more on your solo stuff.
Yeah.
But you always come back to each other. Is that because of where you grew up and that you grew up as friends, or did you just stick around as friends forever instead of drifting away from each other?
We've never been apart.
No.
Weirdly, we've never. I mean, we would soundboard stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So, for a long time, we would work on music together anyway, whether it's one of my tracks or whether Dave said, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And we'd always come back to collaborate and do stuff anyway. So, we kind of went in different paths. I think I took a little break from DJing and stuff around 2005 to 2007.
Yeah.
And when then I sort of came back and started making music again which was the first real records as Alan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So in between that was kind of some collaborative stuff that we'd done on vinyl and stuff with sort of the more hard house stuff, or Dave was already doing some solo stuff.
Yeah.
And then that sort of around sort of 2008, I guess, was when I started putting out more Alan Fitzpatrick
So that
stuff.
was the second chapter of your... that's also when Reset Robot started going off as well. Yeah.
Because it went from Dave Robertson to Reset Robot around that same time, really.
Yeah.
So that whole period, Alan took a break. I was still doing my solo stuff, and I was starting to tour as well, DJing and a lot of gigs in like Poland and places like that.
At that point, I was going to watch him DJ.
Yeah.
So we was going to parties and stuff.
So, and I was doing live sets and stuff like that, but that sound was quite different. And then, 2009 kind of switched, and I could sort of feel like a change in my sound was happening. So I wanted to kind of start an alias and do something different.
So you were like, okay, this is the stuff that I'm doing right now. I want to say goodbye to my past and just make a fresh start.
Yeah.
That must have been scary also.
Yeah, it was. And actually, I think, but, it was a good decision. But at the time, I was kind of like, not sure if it was going to work or how it would be kind of building up again. But it did work out well.
So I was still in work. I left my full-time job. I was working for a kind of life assurance company, pensions and stuff like that. I left in 2010. So I had a good 3 years of releasing music and kind of playing shows while holding down a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And basically made that commitment of, okay, I think I can probably just about match my salary of the shows.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I can do that for like a couple of years, then I'm confident. And then I just sort of went into kind of 2010 was when I went full time.
That's crazy. That must have been also a scary step for you.
It was, because my wife at the time, we just had a baby.
You're like, oh, hell no, you're not going to do this.
He was about three.
I'm quitting work.
He was about 2 months old. 2 months old, I think he was. And I was like, I'm leaving my job. I had quite a good job at the time. I was earning a fairly decent salary for the type of job it was.
Yeah.
And I came home one day and said, I'm just going to DJ.
Yeah, but things had started. Things
were happening. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would go into work and my colleagues would say, "Oh, we heard that you've had an essential new tune on Radio 1." And
what are you still doing here?
Yeah, Pete Tong's playing your music on the Saturday nights, and now you're sat at the desk. And I wasn't doing a lot of work really during that period. I was probably on like Beatport buying records and doing stuff,
waiting for the weekend.
waiting for the weekend, just earning money to buy studio equipment or records to play out.
I think. So most of the times people that listen to this podcast are also aspiring artists, DJs, producers. I think a lot of them have been in the position that you've been in that moment. So like, okay, should I quit my day job? Do I take the risk to say goodbye to everything that is keeping me, like, how do you say it? Like steady, like the bills can be paid. there's no risk or anything. What made you decide that you were like, okay, this is the road I want to take. I want to go full-time musician again.
I think
because it takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, it does, and that's probably one of the main reasons. Because I think, you perform at your best when you're under kind of some sort of risk or pressure, and everything comes with a degree of like roll of the dice.
Yeah.
So me committing and saying, right, I'm gonna leave my job, which I'm stable at and have been at for 8 years or so, and gamble. I had shows in, but you're right. You don't know. A year later, I could have had no shows and then been stuck. But
you would have just enough shows to make sure that you could pay the bills.
And I think that was the time when I was like, look, I think I'm confident in what I'm doing. I think I can do it. I'm getting the right attention by the right people, and making that jump does make you kind of commit to making it work. You haven't got a choice. I had a new baby. I had a mortgage, and I had stuff that I had commitments and things that I had to kind of fulfill, which does make you drive to your passion. And I've never really felt a passion to do something as much as I do with being creative and music and DJing and producing and all that. So
how did you cope with the pressure of having to perform? Because like I said, you were having a steady job, so there was no pressure whatsoever to stick to a release schedule or post your social medias and all that kind of stuff. That was just, okay, I have a steady job, I make some music. Doesn't matter if I don't release for 2 or 3 months. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think at that time you're winging it a bit, and you just kind of, it's all fun and exciting. And I think because you're in that sort of creative space, and you know that you're doing that full time, your creativity does go through the roof. You're making so much music, you've got a lot going on, and naturally you start to attract agents and management and people that want to support you and believe in what you do. And then obviously having a team that starts to build around you from the very early stages, that foundation starts to create an artist, and then you kind of develop. You've got people to lean on, and Dave can say the same thing. You get to a point where you're looked after by people that are supporting what you do, and there is a network of people that make us where we are now. We've all got teams, and
it's very true.
That early support definitely helps.
Yeah. In the meantime, that you were going into that second or third stage of your career, maybe you were you've been doing this full time your whole life already.
Full time, yeah.
Full time. So in the meantime,
Dave's never had a proper job. He's worked in a record shop. But
the funny thing is that a lot of people say you don't have a proper job as a musician, but in the meantime, you work 90 hours a week at least.
I think DJ, being an artist, being a musician is. I mean, I still now work probably 16-hour days. I'm on my emails doing this. Run multiple record labels and promos and being in the studio and we're doing all that stuff. You probably work harder than a lot of people. Yeah,
it's just non-stop. It's non-stop all the time.
Yeah,
and I do a lot of co-production and engineering with people as well. So that's kind of my career as well.
So you just sit in the studio,
all the time.
And you're engineering a lot of other projects as well. Does it? Was that also is that one of the reasons why your sound is so diverse as well? Because when I was looking back into the music that you even released as Reset Robot, it goes from release on Poker Flat, and then Anjuna Deep. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
I was like, is that because if you work with a lot of other artists as well?
I think it's like,
or you just get bored with sounds.
Chameleon.
I think the shift, the big shift has been more recent with the Anjuna Deep stuff.
With John.
And in 2019, I decided to sort of stop touring as well. So I haven't really done any. I did one show last year, or actually the year before in 2022, that I owed to someone for
before Corona,
before COVID and stuff. And I said, look, I will do that. I'll honour that. And I went and did it. It was fine, but I didn't necessarily want to.
You don't want to. You've been there, done that.
Yeah, but I sort of I think moving into what we're doing now, there is definitely scope for doing.
Silva City's giving him the bug again.
Yeah. He's like, I want to start playing these shows again.
It's nice to come and play some stuff out like
that.
I
think he can hold my hand now, so he's more excited by it.
Well, the funny thing is, like I said, you guys have been coming together and doing your own separate stuff in the meantime as well. And to be honest, the stuff that you did together is so different all the time throughout all these years. It goes from, I don't know, I wrote a couple of them down. Together with Fergie.
Yeah.
Hello, Fergie.
Hey, what about you?
Wait, I have to look this up actually while we're talking about this, because Fergie was here in the studio as well, and he has such a. I love his Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It brings us back to all these old sounds, and he was here in the studio as well. And let's see. I have to play this to you, so you know exactly, because you're a good friend of him, I guess.
Yeah. Hi, how's it going? This is Fergie.
There you go.
That's
Fergie.
My new track on A State of Trance.
Anyway, so he's been here as well. So you did Gas Mask Rattlesnake with him in 2009 on Eight-Sided Dice.
Yes, one of my earlier labels. Yeah.
But recently you guys did something on Filth on Acid, and I was listening to it yesterday, and it kind of blew my mind. Acid texture and feel
acid texture, it's a heavy one,
and also a very interesting EP with Porta 1, Neptune Realms.
Oh, and Shall Not Fade.
I mean, what am I listening to?
When you name all these, that sounds like we've got some sort of condition of being all over the place.
Some mushrooms.
But I think we just love making music, so we don't really ever go in and think, let's do this, or especially when we're collaborating.
Yeah,
whatever happens. I mean, we've been known to be in Devon and down at Devon Analog Studios and just make it what would sound like, I guess, like the Vangelis soundtrack to Blade Runner or something.
Yeah.
And if at some point, if we decide to, we'll just put it out. Because
especially that last EP on. With Porta 1, Neptune Realms, like, wait a minute, what is happening? I find it really cool though, because it's like for me, it's like a piece of art.
Yeah. And I also think that it's nice to be able to do that. You know, we do you worry a lot nowadays about what's the algorithm going to say if you're doing this, and how are people going to think about that. But some of the best artists and people that I take influence from right back through to the 80s or whatever have been able to just put out what they want to put out.
But how did people react to it?
I think we've had pretty open and exciting views on it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the stuff I've done with John on Anjuna has been received really well.
Amazing EP.
It's been like, that's blown my mind. And actually, I don't feel like anyone's that bothered about the sort of shift in the sound. But I definitely feel myself leaning more that way with the Reset Robot stuff, kind of more into the electronica things, because where I haven't been sort of going out and playing techno and stuff anymore, I just kind of took a step back from it all. That was kind of what was coming out in the studio and stuff, so I just thought I'm gonna go with it. Yeah,
you have to explain me, what does Takerimba mean? Talking about the EP on
Takerimba, I think that is like I've got some old kind of 90s like Yamaha units that have got really like kind of tacky sounds in them. And there was one in there, I think, maybe called Takerimba.
So it's a preset.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're so basic. It's just like a little something like
that's
that.
The Yamaha thing I've got that's got the famous lately bass sound on it. The other sounds on that little unit are terrible.
They're terrible, but actually they are very sort of rich.
Yeah.
They're very manipulable. If you put something on and they sound great, but
if you get a bit of reverb and echo on them, they sound really full and lush.
Yeah.
But if you just like hit one note, it's like, oh,
what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Is there more stuff with John coming? With John Gert?
Yes, yeah. We've done about 40 tracks.
Yeah.
And so
40?
40.
My God, we've been stop touring also and just make music.
We've been quite prolific in the studio. So we got together again at the sort of end of 2021, I think.
Yeah.
No, end of 2022. And then we've done so many tracks. And we're just sort of steadily releasing them. Anjuna have signed another, I think that was one. And we've got another 2 EPs ready coming out. We've got a track coming on a compilation again that they do. And then we're doing a live set, playing a live set at their festival as well, this in Albania.
Oh, nice.
So he's back on the road
festival.
now.
Oh, dude, that's a magical festival.
Yeah. It looks really good. It looks incredible, actually.
That's something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah, so we've been practicing that, getting this live set together, and it's really coming together nicely now.
I always think about those live sets, and I'm like, oh, you have to carry that to Albania. You have to set it up. We've not trying to make you nervous, but you know.
Well, we've kind of gone. We've gone as basic as we can go. So laptop, Ableton, and we've
MIDI
got
keyboard.
the push. We've got the push 2.
Yeah.
3 channels going into an Allen and Heath Zone 96, and then we've got a couple of pedals. John's got a controller with some sends and stuff set up.
Backpack proof.
So we've got a very sort of, modest setup, nothing too crazy, but could expand.
Yeah.
See where it goes.
Yeah, because for example, we had Reinier Zonneveld here in the studio.
Yeah.
You've seen it at Awakenings.
Yeah.
So every show that he does, he needs to have a Moog. I think it's Roland and what else? So every show, even Queen King's Day, he did 5 shows. So imagine that every promoter has to rent all of that stuff, and you just have to pray that all the equipment is available to rent.
Yeah.
So it's better to do what you're doing.
Everything's okay with it, especially like 99s and stuff. The amount of shit 99s are. You think it's going to be all right. And then you're like, kick drum button doesn't work. Well, or one of the steps is missing and, stuff like that.
Imagine that Reinier doing a set without a kick drum. That would be interesting.
When did I do that live set at Fabric? That was 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And I sort of got a Reset Robot live set together. It took me a long time, and I thought, right, I'm gonna.
Here we go.
I'm gonna tour this. I think I did one. Do you remember that?
I mean, you got to the club about 7 hours before setting everything up, and that as well. I was like, this is no way to tour.
But do
it's just stress.
you remember that weird festival where the sound was really quiet that we both played at, and I was doing a live set?
Yeah.
And I got there, and they had this tiny little table for me to set up on, and I was just like, oh, do you know what? I can't be doing it. No, I'm not dealing with it. I did do the set, but I was like, this is exactly the thing that I thought I was kind of past that.
Yeah.
But I turned up and I was like, I can't, there's not enough space here, guys.
But also,
so I had to sort of do it off to the side of the stage.
Oh, so you would stand in the corner instead of in the middle.
So I had to sort of do this makeshift thing. The sound was
Laptop's
awful.
balanced on CDJs and
people were like going, turn it up. And I'm like, I can't.
Like restrictions or something like that.
It was one of those, and I was just like, do you know what? I'm not doing it. So I just went, no, I'm not doing that.
But also what Ellen says that you have to show up. You can't do it in the summer because you're traveling the whole day, but you need to be there like a couple of hours before the doors open to set it up and the sound check.
Yeah, you have to. You can't. There's no way that. And I was taking, I wasn't those few that I did. I was taking all of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I had the Sub 37, the Moog Sub 37.
No,
I had everything with me. I had bags and that. And it was just so heavy. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Especially in the summer season when you're doing, for me, if you're doing a few shows in a day sometimes and you're just up and down motorways and going to this show and that show, it's just too, my anxiety would freak out. I'd be like, what's going on?
With all that stuff.
Yeah, I'd be like, I've left the jack cable at the other.
But also taking a Moog on the plane.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to do that? You have to wrap it up in a case.
No, I was like sort of, obviously all my presets, I know you can load stuff into other ones, but I had all my presets, and then in Ableton you can have all your program changes set on the MIDI channels.
Yeah.
So when you click a MIDI clip, it changes the preset on the synth to the correct one.
Yeah.
And then you're in. So I just was like, I've got to take this all with me. But the one at Fabric was great because it's Fabric.
Yeah.
And they're set up for that.
Yeah. Similar sort of issues, not necessarily live, but similar issues when people wanted to continue playing vinyl, that you would turn up with records at a club that
clubs can't facilitate it anymore.
They put decks in for you, but as soon as you play a record, the needle's just bouncing everywhere. And you're like,
needs to be.
There's no shocks here. There's this every record you play, as soon as the crowd jump.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I had
brilliant.
I actually had a situation because I did an open to close set in Epic in Prague. You probably, I don't know if you ever been there. 3 weeks ago, and I was like, "Hey guys, the last hour or two, I want to do a vinyl set." They were like, "Sorry, we can't do it. Our sound system is not created for vinyls." And whenever you start playing, it's either buzzing or it's going to be bouncing up and down. We can't facilitate it.
I remember
I want to do that.
The sort of latter days of me playing vinyl in clubs. I would turn up, and then the the decks would have no earth cables. So yeah, every track is just. I'm like, this is pathetic. I just can't be doing it.
No, better days now with USBs.
Yeah, and then I just stick with the vinyl at home. You know, a couple of glasses of wine and throw on some records. It's a lot more chill than taking them on the road. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I remember the first show I did outside of the Netherlands was in Turnmills in the UK. That was
nice.
one of the few shows that I did actually carrying a vinyl bag.
Bruised shoulders.
Yeah, bruised shoulders, and also taking it on the airplane. Oh my God.
Turnmills is probably one of the last places that I played vinyl in terms of it being like religiously, like as my DJ setup.
Yeah.
You know? But clubs like that, I mean, like Fabric London, if you play vinyl, it's a dream. You know, Room 1, it's just set up for it. Everything's concreted in, and it's everything's very it's ready.
The thing is that at least, if I'm not sure if that's the same room that I played, that you have the speakers like in front of you.
In front of you.
This is how much crowd you see.
Through that. I mean,
but the sound system.
Seeing someone like Craig Richards play there for 24 hours, only vinyl. I mean, that place that's like the mecca for stuff in
I hope those clubs will never disappear.
No,
well, they
tried to get rid of Fabric, didn't they? It closed for 10 months or something, and we were all. Everyone was appealing. We got it back. You know, I'm back in Fabric with We Are the Brave actually on 1st of June. So that'd be good. Doing Room 1 all night because as me, Joy Hauser, and Maori, I think it'd be nice.
Okay, that's pretty stacked.
I'm excited for that.
All right, so before we go to why you're actually here, because we've been talking for such a long time already. Some last bits and pieces because you already mentioned We Are the Brave. That's your record label. You have some fantastic talent coming out on there. What is it like for you to do a career as a successful DJ, but also working so hard on the record label like We Are the Brave?
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I think you always have to kind of be aware of what it was like when you were kind of starting out and putting music out and wanting to reach out to labels. So I do try and make sure that I give everything a kind of personal touch and be in touch with people and kind of do as much of the A&Ring as I can and be as hands-on as I can, really, because it's my little baby, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. It's exciting running the label, and it's exciting getting to play so much of the music that I get sent, that I'm signing and stuff. And a lot of the time, as well as my own productions, you're only really getting a chance to play the stuff you've got upcoming on the label, let alone anyone else's music. So it's good. The actual amount of music you get now is so vast.
Do you listen to everything that you get in?
No,
it's
you just
impossible.
can't. Yeah,
you have to pick and choose of the friends that if Dave would send you something and you would
he
okay,
might listen to it.
yeah.
Because you refresh your SoundCloud all the time. Oh, you still didn't listen.
As well as you've got, obviously you know everyone now, so everyone's, if they're not on your DMs, they're WhatsApping you, and then they're emailing you, and it's just so many avenues of music that are coming at you. But it can be overwhelming, and you need to make sure that you're giving everything some sort of time, because there's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, tell me about it. But in the meantime, you have some fantastic music on there as well. Craving was also released, of course, with Joy Hauser, big tune. And also a track that really caught my attention, your collab with Hilo is coming soon.
Yeah, that's actually coming.
Pretty when this podcast is going to be released, it's going to be out today. I think.
Third.
So,
yeah.
Like that, so.
Yeah, it's exciting. We've got quite a few bits. I've got quite a few bits coming this year, but Craving was exciting to do some stuff with Joy Hauser. We've been bumping into each other on tour for a long time. But yeah, me and Oliver, we chat quite a lot. So it was nice to kind of do something together and do something on Hylomatic.
Yeah.
Wicked.
So before we get to Silva City, there's one more thing, because what I really noticed, that's one of the reasons why you probably started Silva City as well, is that it feels like the gatekeeping is kind of disappeared. The techno scene or the tech house scene has been gatekeep for such a long time, with people saying like, you cannot do this, you cannot do this. Resident Advisor would destroy you if you would even use a sample in a techno tune, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that, because right now when you're listening to music like Bart Skills is releasing or Adam Beyer, if they would have done it 10 years ago, they would have been, thrown out of the scene, I feel.
I think everything's opened right up. I mean, even anyone listening to kind of techno now, it's very different to what it was back then, or back to a sort of period. Everything's kind of opened up, and again, I think all the styles and all the genres have all mishmashed together, to a degree.
Because now, because I remember when
it feels like trance has gone into everything, in a way.
Yeah, also there was a certain moment that people were saying this is not trance, stuff like that. And now I I see Instagram posts of people playing techno, and they're like, "Oh, this is not techno. This is hard house or whatever." Like, whatever, just enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy the music. Well, I remember when one of my early drum codes that had a vocal in it.
Like,
people were like, "You can't have a vocal
why?
track on drum code."
Yeah.
And now find me one that hasn't got a vocal on it.
Very true, and even party all the time.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, you'd never expect tracks like that to come from people like Adam and stuff. But it's exciting. It's
but
exciting.
What was the turning point? What was the moment that people were not afraid anymore to start doing that?
I don't know.
Is there a pinpoint as like a certain track that maybe
I don't
started
know.
it all? Or
maybe it's my fault putting vocals in techno and stuff, and then being part of this kind of peak time techno genre. Blame me.
Definitely sort of coming out of COVID, isn't it? That kind of like everything, all the tempos just ramped up.
And I think because of the sort of tempo switch where stuff started getting similar in terms of genres, it allowed people to blend stuff together more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that play what they call hard techno now that will drop jungle tracks in the same sets because the BPM's nearly at 160.
That's true. And a lot of techno is like, it sounds like the 1994 hardcore that was released in Rotterdam. And the hard kicks and the
hard kick and like sort of not so much groove, but the bass is like on the drum.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And that's sort of how it is at the moment.
It's like the Verknipt festivals here in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
The harder the drop is, the better it is. The kids are eating it up. They're loving it. So, okay.
It's energetic music for young people in a way.
And I feel like in COVID, people were like steering into the slower kinds of things. But out of COVID, those kids they missed out on 3 years of raving. They just want to rage.
Yeah. And
That's
also, I think anyone, when you're at a sort of a younger age coming into clubs and stuff, you are naturally full of energy and wanting that faster paced tempo, So it's one of those.
Put on some black clothes with some net, net shirt, and
it's like bondage gear.
That's what it looks like. I think it's great though. It's like
to be fair, I had a net vest when I was first going to Slinky, and I had spiky blonde hair. Which is hard to believe. Yeah,
is there any pictures?
Yeah, there are some pictures.
Okay.
I'm never getting them out.
We need to dig those up.
There's a couple.
There's a couple
of gold ones.
Dave has them.
Yeah, he's probably got them. Yeah.
Some good content. How do you say it? You can. You can get something out of it.
That's the artwork for the next release.
Yeah.
You'll be like, hey, Alan, can you do a remix for my project? No. You might want to reconsider.
Yeah.
All right. You're here for something very special because I remember when I got the first tunes sent by James. He's here in the studio as well. He's like, hey, this is this new trance project that Reset Robot and Alan Fitzpatrick started. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I was listening. I was like, holy shit, what is this? And there it was, Silva City. And first of all, I want to know, like, why and how did you start this project? Like, what made you decide, like, okay, we made enough tunes for ourselves, I guess, or we're just having fun, or take it away.
I think, it's been something that we've always wanted to visit.
20 years too late, maybe.
But we sort of,
I guess not.
It's always been kind of there and something that I've gone, we should write some.
The Slinky days.
We should write some music like that.
But originally, I think it was for fun.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, and then I started having a little tink around in the studio, and I was like, okay, this could be. Some of these are sounding quite good. Send in some bits to Al, and we were like, right, let's start kind of like putting it together properly and actually say that we're going to do something. It just sort of.
For a little while, we had a few tracks, and we had no name. We had no names for the tracks, or no name for the collaboration stuff. And we were like, okay, we can't do this as me and you.
It's a bit too far away. Even though you explore these weird ass soundscapes, but trance is too far away. No, we can't do that.
So we were like this. Well, it just felt like it was exciting, and it felt like something that deserved its own thing that we can grow and celebrate. As opposed to just like trying something a bit left field, which we are known for doing quite a lot, as we've touched on.
So you discovered the super saw in your studio, like, hey, let's do something with this and go back to our old days.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of picked up a JP 8000, old Roland synth, and we've got some, like the old like bits of hardware and stuff like that we're trying to sort of put into those tracks to give them a little bit of that sort of authentic feel.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's coming across.
Oh yeah, it's coming across 100%.
Yeah.
For sure. Because like I said, after the episode, I was like, okay, this is really bringing me back to the days that I was listening to, let's say, Trans Energy 1998, 99.
Yeah.
When I was too young to go to the parties, and I would record it because it was live on radio and record everything, and listen to Vincent de Moor all the time and stuff like that.
During our sort of time around there, one of the mixes that we used to listen to and share around our friends group a lot was Scott Bond's Essential Mix for Radio 1, 1999.
99 going into 2000 I think. Or 98 going into 99.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
But yeah.
It was that whole period. That was like the sort of golden age for us, 97, 98 into 2001.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Was that a challenge for you? Like, okay, let's see if we can make this? Or was it because you heard that the sound was becoming more popular? Like, okay, we can do this better than the kids that are replicating the sounds from back in the days but didn't experience it?
I think, I was pretty confident that we'd be able to make some good stuff.
Yeah.
We just sort of pulled on our nostalgia, and it just happens pretty kind of. It's not difficult in a way that we would try. Got to do this and got to do that. It just sort of comes out, and then we're both like, "Here, your hair's stand on end."
I had
We've
to
got
refresh
it,
my, listen to a few old tracks and be like, okay, that's
which ones did you listen to?
I think I checked Guriella.
Uh-huh.
And probably a bunch of the Ferry Corsten
System
stuff,
F stuff,
System F stuff, and just to listen
Signum,
to the drums and things like that. What sounds were getting used in how many elements, and try and kind of keep that in mind, but not sort of copy anything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The exciting stuff for us now as well, doing that kind of more nostalgic tipped stuff in a new way, is that ultimately the production techniques and the stuff that we've got now to pull on is better than what was then.
Yeah.
So you can really go with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can kind of explore that kind of sound, but with all the new technology that we've got now, which is quite cool.
Okay, and then you had the first tune was done, and then
a load of ideas.
Had a load of ideas.
You made a lot of ideas while you were finishing the first one, maybe.
And then
James,
this man over here.
The time we need to get James on the microphone once again.
Yeah.
James is the A&R manager of Armada that's responsible for pretty much every single tune that you hear on A State of Trance that's ever been released on A State of Trance or Our Mind. James has been behind a lot of artists tweaking, saying, hey, you need to change this and that. James, do you still remember getting an email in from, I don't know who sent it. Was it Dave or was it Alan?
Alan got in touch, yeah.
So Alan sent an email to James?
No, it was actually, we were promoting the Techno Trance EP that these guys did under their own name.
Yeah.
Okay. Which was?
Space Dust
and Lotus.
Yeah.
So they come to the London office to do an Armada in the Mix live stream.
To promote that release.
To promote that. And they said, oh, by the way, we're tinkering with some nostalgic trance sounds. I was like, oh, go on, tell more.
Go on.
So, it basically led from that. So they said, right, we've got some bits and bobs, we'll send you. So when they started sending the first tracks, I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's the most authentic, nostalgic sounding productions from anyone that I've heard. So I was blown away. And then also melodically, like, just on point. So
then you had the EP that was released, and the guys came to promote, and then they had more bits and pieces.
Yeah, so they
tinkering, the word of the day, tinkering around.
I think that's like we literally just sort of said to you, oh, we're doing some stuff. Do you want to hear it? And you were like, please send it over.
I think at that stage as well, the stuff that we sent over was like ideas and half finished stuff, and James was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and there wasn't even a project name at that point, was there? But because it was just like, I knew that we had to do it,
so that was the moment that it became from like a side project, became like a proper project.
Yeah.
And I think that was the validation we needed coming from Armada and from James, and we were like
the number one trade
trans
in the world.
Is it good?
Is it good?
Is it good?
Yeah.
Are we deluded, or is this actually good? We think it's good, but that's sort of another story if other people start to think it's good. And I think James's belief and going like, we have to, obviously, just from it being ideas and picked it up.
So what is your role now in the whole synergy that's happening here?
Yeah, just a bit of backup, really, for the guys. I mean, to be honest with you, they're so prolific. I don't really need to give them much
by themselves. Yes,
much A&R input. They're coming with pretty much finished tracks, really, and they're faultless for me. So for me, it's more about just setting up the release in the best possible way. So obviously, we set up the project. We did the first 2 tracks, and then we've had a little bit of a break. But the guys are, as you can hear from the ASOP
casually
mixers,
bringing in 8 IDs.
So we, it's all about kind of setting up the releases in the best possible way. Obviously, they've got some collaborations coming with some possible legends of trance. We
Which
won't
ones?
name any names.
Why not? No one's listening. It's fine.
Nah, I better not. I better not.
Some super exciting stuff, to be fair, yeah.
But
I know some already.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say them right now, destroy all the promotion plans. No. Okay. Well, I think it's great. But what do you, as an A&R, just sorry putting you aside for 1 second, because you must get a lot of these kind of sounds in your inbox right now. Because when you listen, especially in the UK, there's such a massive revival of these kinds of sounds.
Yeah, there's definitely been a shift in the demos I'm being sent. But I think it's great that people are looking at that nostalgic sound because the trance scene needs to evolve.
Yes, needs a refresh. Yeah.
But I feel like some people are just kind of jumping on the bandwagon basically and not really thinking it through. Whereas these guys are, like Alan said, they were there when these tracks came out, so they know how they felt on the dance floor at that time.
That's something you cannot recreate.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting to say that I was also at Slinky with the. But without knowing these guys, we were probably on the same dance floor at the same time.
It's amazing, isn't it? Really,
it's awesome.
Full circle.
That's amazing. Yeah. Who came up with the name Silva City, and what does it mean?
Go on. It's a little reference to the Never-Ending Story, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like a sort of fantasy. We both love like those old 80s fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, the Labyrinth and Legend and Never-Ending Story. These kind, Dark Crystal. That kind of. And we like the sound design and all those sorts of, I'm a huge 80s head in terms of that kind of synth wavy retro sound and stuff. And
Silva City is the sort of like place in the second film, which isn't great, but that is the sort of, that's the kind of like main
Empress.
That's where they live. Yeah.
We're geeks, aren't we? Really? But
well, you have to be a geek because you cannot sit behind a computer, tweak a kick drum for 8 hours if you're not a geek. At least that's
we had to tweak the spelling though. Tweak the spelling of Silva.
Just to be unique, why
just to
not?
be unique and be how do you say it's better for Google?
It's better for Google.
That's true. All right, well, guys, I'm looking forward to so much new music. Silva City is coming up. There's some touring maybe happening also, bringing you back from retirement.
Back from retirement,
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. How are you going to juggle this in between your own touring schedules and your own release? Because you both do so much.
I think for me, it's just as important as everything else that we're doing. So everything has to make way for it. It's got to find its own space. But it's certainly not sort of secondary to anything else that me or Dave are doing. It's as important. So if there's shows to be done, then they're going to be done and compete with anything else.
We talked about it because it's a fresh start for you as well, for both of you. And normally you might be used to playing like the best slots and the best billing, and now suddenly everybody's like, no. Yeah. I guess it's going to change soon. As soon as all these tunes are coming out, it's going to make a big difference.
And you never know. Maybe I'll be on one stage, and then I'm like an hour later I'll hop to another stage at the same festival.
That would be amazing, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exciting.
You have to swap some clothes and do some.
Yeah, exactly.
Never-Ending Story merchandise or something instead of your net shirt or
on our PVC.
That's what we need. Is some sort of designers out there to design some Silva City t-shirts based on 80s nostalgia.
Maybe some silver outfits.
Yeah,
some silver pants,
silver jumpsuits. Some
David Bowie codpiece.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
You'd love that.
I would love it. Yeah, the Goblin King.
God.
Maybe not the best idea. Well, thank you so much for answering all these questions. Like I said, I'm looking forward to so much new music from you guys, and keep it up and don't give up on the project.
Thank you.
Because thanks for supporting it. Lots more to come. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Next time we're going to be back with Matt Fax in the studios. So see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Check all previous episodes on YouTube or your favorite podcast portal.